Welcome back to Jump Scare. I'm Betty.
And I'm Shad.
And this month, we are doing something a little special because it is our favorite month. We will be doing special episodes, one every day for the week leading up to Halloween. And these segments are going to be called Podoween. So our Podoween, it will consist of 7 films that we either love, maybe they're celebrating special anniversaries, films that we've never seen before, goodies and oldies, or maybe baddies and oldies.
Yeah.
We do have some questionable films in the lineup.
It's amazing what you'll watch when there's no cost involved with it. When you flip through Vudu or Tubi and you're like, hey, what is this? I've never heard of it. It has 3 sequels. Well, let me check it out.
Oh, yeah.
Mistake.
Yeah, big mistake.
That commercial from Saturday Night Live where they had the bad idea jeans. Well, we put on the bad idea jeans for a few of these.
Oh, yeah. I love this holiday being Halloween for those that celebrate Halloween. I'm not going to get into the whole lore and, all that stuff. But I love the season. I always had such great Halloweens growing up in New York, where I was born and half raised. And, they were just so fun and fallish for all of you that still live in areas that, you can see the seasons change, unlike the hot hurricane-ish hell that we currently reside in, that being Florida. We don't, the same tree is green every day, all day, for years and years and years, until maybe a hurricane blows that tree down and then there's another green tree to look at all year round. So we wanted to do something a little special for this month. And do some films, that can either be watched during the season because they're kind of seasonally appropriate, or films that kind of give us give us personally that nostalgic or autumn-ish feeling, or films that you can play in the background during a party, where you don't have to be at all interested in the film. It's just something cool to just have in the background while it's happening. Cool being maybe people are getting murdered, horror style, you like to watch, but you don't need to invest in it because the film is terrible, so you're not going to want to waste your time. So we have a little bit of everything, I feel like,
yep,
in our little trick or treats.
So to kick it off, now we've talked about what we're going to be doing for the next 7 days. We thought
7 days.
Yes, we thought we would talk about some of the more recent TV shows that we've seen that are horror related, and we'll start with the new Creepshow.
Oh, Creepshow! How I wish you were the Creepshow that you want to be, but you're not. The end for me.
Well, I feel like all of them they have interesting ideas, but I just don't think they necessarily have the budget to pull it off.
I feel like they're suffering from the same thing another network is doing with a big horror house behind them, where you have these up-and-coming directors or up-and-coming screen, writers creating things, but almost everything, and I'm going to say 90% of the things are things we actually saw in other horror films, so they've already been done, so it's not an original idea, it's just new people in a very similar scenario kind of thing. So it's do I really need to watch this? Because I could just watch what you're kind of ripping off. Maybe you're not. Maybe you went in thinking, hey, this is a amazing original idea, and everyone around you is yeah, because there's nothing out there. Maybe that's what's happening. I don't know. But with what I've seen so far with the Creepshow, Tabby has joined in the Podoween episode, of course. She has joined. She will be joining in many of our Podoween and / regular episodes, because she has to give her 2 meow cents.
Yes.
And her two paws into the whole thing. I don't know. What do you think? The Creepshow thing, it's not so much, because I know you mentioned like the budget. It's just ideas that other people have done. Like, there's nothing per se something I haven't seen. Like, you're not wowing me with something I haven't seen.
Well, unlike the first one, which was called Gray Matter and was based on a Stephen King story, they went real heavy into the Stephen King references on that one, like way heavier than you needed to.
Oh yeah, it was insane.
Yeah, they had to bring the Grady twins into it, which, if the Grady twins are there and killed in Maine, how are they in Colorado to be in The Shining? You know, there was some stuff that I didn't really thought made sense. And I don't know, there was a way too much on the homages to different things on there, and they'd have been better off just to stick with the small, little, quick story that they had. Not try to throw in a million references. That's, like I said, I think Night of the Creeps has kind of ruined that, because they threw in a million names in that movie. And I think after that, you can't really do it, because it calls out too much attention. Unless it's something very slight. You can get away with, to me, like, you do that one time in an episode. You say, oh, we're going on out to see Sheriff Carpenter, or whatever.
Yeah.
Boom. You know, they're, reference to John Carpenter. Ha ha ha. But then if you go, we're going to go see Medical Examiner Craven and stop by
Professor Loomis.
Yeah, and go to Judge Barker's house and all this, you're like, oh, come on, guys. I get it.
Yeah, guys.
But I think one per show is one per episode is all you should have.
And I feel like after watching, because we just watched Night of the Creeps again, most of the shows and films that we've watched literally they're riddled with references all over the place. Like, even in The Annabelle Comes Home, the last names of the girls were, like, weren't they last names of people too? I'm pretty sure that they were. Like, I remember watching something recently, and it was just, like, the same thing over and over again. Like, Loomis this, and,
Well, Loomis is in Hayride.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, Detective Loomis is
Detective Loomis.
Yeah, that one calls it out a little too much, but, you know. The
Dollhouse one...
it was good, but it didn't have an ending.
It didn't, and it was kind of like the whole, like, Ring thing, where it's just like you're gonna pass it on. You just wanted to get it out of your own life and pass it on to someone else, so you don't have to deal with it anymore, kind of thing. There's, I know there a lot of things are ambiguous, so we really need to know where, like, the head came from. We don't need to know where, like, how it popped up all of a sudden, like, it just magically appeared. I mean, this is a dollhouse. Pieces are bought. I doubt the mother and dad went to, like, the miniature fucking store and were like, you know what, we're gonna get this creepy ass severed head and just plop it in one of the bedrooms in the house.
I was fine with them not explaining it, and I thought, like, it had a lot of creepy imagery and stuff in it. But I just felt like it needed a little bit more of an ending. It was just kind of like, and we got rid of it. Yeah. The end. Okay, that really wasn't all that creepy then. If you could just get rid of it, then why do all the, what was the point of the show? Yeah, and then, like, it's not really, you don't want it to go out into the world because you don't know what it'd be capable of. You just saw it, like, spoiler alert, murder every of the, like, the dolls. They're not real. But are they real? Because they're moving and reacting. So it's just, it was weird. And then, oh goodness. The next episode is the whole, like, werewolf Nazi one. Yeah. Never seen that before. No. It had Jeffrey Combs in it, but he could have been in any other movie at the same time. He was playing a Nazi in another movie and just stopped in to film that real quick. At least in this one, the Nazis are not, the werewolves, the Nazis are not becoming werewolves, or werewolves not becoming Nazis. It's actually the Americans that took advantage of the situation. So they kind of, like, shook it up a little bit. But again, nothing really, oh my gosh, this is great. I mean, I just think we've just come to a point where we've run out of ideas. With all the remakes, revisionings, reimaginings, it's so few and far between you're going to come across something that's. I think this is a budget thing too, because most of these are in one room. The whole, most of the whole like Nazi werewolf episode takes place in one setting.
Yeah.
Same thing, the Dollhouse takes place in one setting. Gray Matter, one setting. All of them are pretty much in one room, confined. And while that was kind of true of Creepshow, it didn't feel like they had to be there, you know?
Even though it was one room or two rooms in the original Creepshow, at least the stories were, I can say, fresh. At least they were, you know, they had something to them, some meat. These are just flat.
You know, like for instance, like with the Nazi werewolf thing, or the werewolves and the Nazis. If you had wanted to do that, I felt like you could have expanded it out and had it be, you know, spoilers. The Nazis come to the building where the Americans are at. They kill all the Nazis inside the building and move on. Like I said, you never leave that room. Wouldn't it have been cooler to show them going out into the field, stalking the Nazis, you know, that kind of thing would have been a little cooler to see.
Yeah, because you see the werewolves in their element, but that's going to cost money because you're going to have longer CGI. Yeah. They did do a cool transition, which when you watch it, you're like, obviously they did this because they didn't have the money. But that was showing the transformation of the man to wolf via comic strip.
Yeah.
And then finally, when it goes back to like live action, they're already the wolf.
Yeah, that was a cool effect and a great way to save money on it. Of you didn't just go from human to wolf with just using that. And like that was very inventive. I thought.
It was very inventive, and that was probably the only piece I would remember from this episode.
Then they did a Halloween one.
Oh goodness! All Hallows Eve,
and it was a very boring ghost revenge story.
It was trick or treat. Literally the kids taking revenge, the kids from the school bus, but they didn't die in a school bus in this scenario. They died in a treehouse fire. Oh my goodness, just seeing that out loud just sounds ridiculous.
Yeah, it was too long. It was only 20 minutes, but it was too long.
It was too long, and like nothing happened. Like you see them attack one guy, and it wasn't even, I mean, you can't even feel bad for the guy. The guy deserved it.
Yeah. He
deserved it. So it's just like, okay, ghost revenge story. Okay, I've never seen kids going on. And you know what? I hate to fucking be like the asshole to be like, oh, you know, Professor of film history, and I've never seen this before. I hate to be like that person, but I am that person right now because you want to love something. You want something to have a chance. Hey, if you watched this and you thought this was the greatest thing you've ever seen, you know what? Then more power to you. Live your happy life. That's great. You know, it for us, it didn't really do anything for us, but we've seen so much that.
Now, the last one, I'll say, had a little bit more of an original, not necessarily the original concept, but an original way about it. But you've seen that on Tales from the Crypt before and that sort of thing. This is the people are going to get their comeuppance. They're going to get. It involves a guy who finds a man squished up in his suitcase when he gets off the airplane. And every time you hurt the guy, he spits out a gold coin. So you can, of course, imagine very quickly his friend and his ex-girlfriend decide to just start hurting the guy constantly to get gold coins. And again, like I said, this is a typical Tales from the Crypt, you know, EC comic kind of come up. You know they're going to get their comeuppance. You know they're going to immediately become too greedy, and they're going to get their own.
Yeah, at least this one was entertaining because you get to see like the different ways they're torturing this poor dude in the suitcase. But then, you know, you see what happens to the characters and how terrible these people are. And of course, among the bunch, there's going to be like that one person that's like, you know what, this has just gone too far. And that person, of course, stands up for themselves in the situation. And, you know, of course, they're going to get, you know, killed or you know, hurt in some fashion because the other wrongdoers want to go on doing what they're doing. And they're already pieces of shit because they were cheating on him and behind his back.
Yeah.
Because, of course, the girl got back with the guy after she broke up with him because, you know, he had no future, nothing to offer her. But once he came into these gold coins, she was like, what's up? Buying diamond necklaces, buying everything. There was like a montage where they're just spending all this money, going shopping, you know, of course, you know, buying stupid pointless bullshit. And this one was, at least it was, spoiler alert, it was like Genie Revenge kind of thing, you know, and at least the genie looked really cool when he showed him his true self, his genie self, even though it looked like a crazy maniacal version of Robin Williams' genie from Aladdin. But then again, I guess that's what normally when they draw a genie, they, you know, it's something coming out of a bottle, and they usually have like the one ponytail thing, and you know, the look of the genie look. So that was good.
That's all we've seen so far. So we'll have to wait and see what the last few episodes are like. I think they did 6. I think there's at least 3 more.
We totally missed the one with Adrian Barbeau.
No, that was Grey Matter.
Oh, Grey Matter. I'm so sorry. Yes, Grey Matter.
That was the first one I talked about.
Yeah. That one it was way too long. It could have been shorter. The people did a great job. The monster looked, you know, okay. I like the concept. You can't fuck it up. It's a freaking Stephen King story. I mean, you can't fuck it up because he did, but that's because they just made it too long and then decided they were going to put every Tom, Dick, and Harry reference in a 30-minute episode.
Yeah.
For no reason.
So hopefully it'll get a little better. I mean, we are only 3 episodes into it, so maybe the last few will be a little better. Maybe they saved the best for last. I don't know. But I'm hoping it'll get a little better because it's not the worst thing I've ever seen, but it's not the best either. It's just in the middle of the road. It's
okay. In this day and age where you have, like, you know, so many great horror TV shows that are out, it's just hard to compete. Especially, you know, even though you're coming with people that, and that's where I think where it probably hurts the most, because it's like people that have been in the business for a while that did the things that you love from the past, and they're kind of trying to like do it again. But is it good? Is it not? You let us know. Did you like it? Is it living up to what you thought Creepshow, the show, was going to be?
I was talking about the creep. Like, they kind of bring the character of the creep on at the beginning of every episode, but he doesn't say anything. I know they didn't want to try and have him competing with the Crypt Keeper on saying silly things, but, you know, why not do it like the original movies did, where they have a character, like, reading the comic book and kind of going through it and that. You know, they could have done something like that, but I feel like they kind of just are wasting the creep at the beginning of the shows, you know? He's not really adding anything to it. You know, the Crypt Keeper made funny little puns or whatever. He'd be like, "Oh, I'll chop off your hands, and then you'll get a hand from me," or, you know, I can't think of one right now, but he always had some stupid little pun that was involved with it. And, you know, or just cut it out entirely, like Tales from the Dark Side.
Yeah.
If you don't have a good idea for a host to the show, just cut it entirely. Like Tales from the Dark Side just came on with the music, said, "Hey, here's a scary story," and they started.
For the most part, I mean, the creep is a puppet.
Yeah, he's a puppet, and it looks cool. It just doesn't do anything.
Well, you know, he laughs.
Yeah.
He laughs maniacally. He does things with his fingers. I see a lot of finger work.
But that's about it.
That's it. That's all we're getting.
That's all we got for Creepshow.
Well, now we would discuss something that Shad did not grow up with. Maybe the first time you ever even seen it was with me.
I knew what it was, but I'd never actually watched it.
And it is the special limited series, Are You Afraid of the Dark? So that opening is just classic. I didn't have cable for a short part of my life, and I had to watch these Are You Afraid of the Dark episodes by either going to a friend's house, just happened to catch them if I was at, you know, a family member's house, you know, odd places. I remember watching one, like pizzeria. Anywhere I could catch it, I would catch it. And then, you know, I just loved it so much. It was so creepy to me. It was everything. I wanted to be part of the Midnight Society. Like, I wanted to go out, you know, into the fucking woods and tell a creepy story amongst my friends and throw magic fucking sand in the fire and shit. All the shit that they do. I wanted to do it all. And when I heard this was, being optioned to be a film and then a TV show, then a film, it was just going back and forth for a while. And then finally, when things calmed down and they finally made a decision, I'm a big DJ McHale fan. He is the creator of the original series, and he has written very successful novels, Pendragon series.
Did that one Morpheus Road as well.
I love Morpheus Road. There's 3 books in that. I believe there's 3 books in that. I don't know if he did more than that, but I know of 3 in that trilogy. Very good. Great writer, great ideas, very creative. Love you, love you, love you, love you. Love Canada. Thank you, Canada, for providing amazing things to watch when I was growing up. Nickelodeon.
This is where I'll step in for just a second. When I was a kid growing up, the one that I watched on Nickelodeon, the scary shows, I feel like they kind of were looking to recreate their own original thing of that. Was the one I watched was called The Third Eye. And it was not like Are You Afraid of the Dark, but each one was like a separate story. The Third Eye was called that, but it was like an anthology series. Where there would be I remember there was one like The Haunting of Cassie Palmer, and it was like 10 episodes about that. Then there was Under the Mountain, was like 10 episodes, and then 10 episodes about Children of the Stones, and there were some others, but every few weeks it would change to a different series,
Yeah, you showed me some, and I was like, oh yeah, that looks, it's so crazy when you watch this stuff, and it's just it's so long ago.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, I feel like they had kind of but that wasn't something Nickelodeon created. I think those were all just shows that they acquired and just put under the same banner,
Yeah.
Like they used to do that with things where they would buy out movies and chop them up into little space, half-hour episodes and put them out. And I think that's what they did with that. But yeah, so back to Are You Afraid of the Dark?
So the opening, this is a new kids, new everything. They have a new opening. The opening was fine. There was some, I think maybe one thing from the original opening they had. And this is they're in parts. So part 1 is submitted for the approval. And what they did differently in this one that they didn't do in the original series is the original series would start off and it would be the kids walking into their area where they would tell their stories, the campfire area, and sometimes when there's a new character that was going to be introduced, a new storyteller, they would have that person blindfolded. And this, they kind of give you the history of they kind of show you a kid moving into a town, they're the new kid in town, which is a girl, and she's having to deal with, being the new kid, and, she likes certain things, and she catches the eye of one of her fellow classmates, and he, discusses this with the rest of the members, and you kind of get an introduction of what kind of these, what kind of people. There's one girl, she's really into filmmaking, or she's making her own zombie movie. The other kid's wearing the other kid is from It. He's the John Ritter character, which I can't remember his name right now.
Ben.
Yeah, Ben. Hello. Ben's in it, and he, is wearing a movie Watch Horror Movies. He's that kid. And, you get a little introduction from all of them. And finally, they ask her certain series of questions. They leave a little letter with the, wax stamp of the, Midnight Society on there. And it's questions would
you rather be a vampire or a zombie or a ghost?
Yeah. And depending on how she answers, then, they give her another one and so forth. And finally, they give her the map to go to the place where she's going to have to tell her story. Now, her story is actually a nightmare that she's been having with a main character. And that character is called Top Hat, Mr. Top Hat. And he's traveling with this carnival called the Carnival of Doom. Now, I did like how they introduced the characters. I like the fact that they showed you how they got the people into the society, like the steps they had to do before they got to what we originally saw in the original series with them already being there. That whole thing was, well thought out. And for someone that may be a fan, was like, what, I always wondered what happened, beforehand and all that. They killed that. They did that great. Now, the issue that we get into is she tells a story, and the story comes true to some part because now in their world, a carnival of doom shows up and one of their classmates already has gone missing, which is what happens kind of in the story. This is something that Are You Afraid of the Dark, the original series, kind of did in their last episodes. And that was an episode where they had to bring back the original cast member to come, and now the Midnight Societers are the story. So that same concept is happening in this one. So my question is, are we going to get different stories now? Like, are they going to meet? Or there's no meeting of the Midnight Society telling any kind of stories, because now since they're the story, that's their main concern, and they have to deal with what's happening at this thing. And I have so many questions, but so far that's where I'm at. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I'm in the middle. I haven't made my decision yet. It's free on YouTube right now, episode 1 and 2. If you want to catch it, it was pretty decent. For it being what it is. It's not going to be, American Horror Story or, the other.
Well, for me watching it, I was like, oh, okay, they're doing the same thing that they did in Goosebumps and Goosebumps 2 and Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. So they're just kind of following in that formula of, oh, we told scary stories and now they're turning out to be real.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that seems to be the new thing. They want to... I thought all of those would have been much better as just anthologies. Just do the Goosebumps could have... Now, the Goosebumps originally, when I saw it was like, okay, that's pretty good. They worked all the original stories. They made like R.L. Stine a real character in it and all that. But don't keep doing it after that,
Yeah.
Just one and done with that. The next Goosebumps should have just been a collection of like short, creepy stories. And that's what I thought they should have done with the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, too. Is it would have been much better as an anthology.
I think so too. I would have liked to have seen more stories. Like I said, I didn't really get past. I saw the second, half of the second episode, but it just seems like so far from what I've seen, this story of the Carnival of Doom and how the kids are gonna have to deal with that. This was something they just heard around the campfire. It's supposed to be fictional, is now, reality. And them coming to, like, deal with it. And is it going to be like a I hate to say Stranger Things, because obviously they did not create this formula. But is it going to be like, oh, we're a bunch of kids riding on bikes, which they did show them riding on bikes, going around town, trying to figure this out without any supervision. Yeah, without any adult supervision. And that's what I'm doing? Possibly. But thank you so much for joining us in our introduction to Podoween. And our, feelings about these new horror shows that have come about. That being the new Creepshow, which is on Shudder. Love you, Shudder.
We do. We have a year-long subscription.
Yes, we do. We love you so much. You have the most amazing... Don't ever go away. Don't be like those other guys that just left. Whatever happened.
Chiller and FearNet and...
Okay, I wasn't going to name them, but yes, those who may or may not have gone bankrupt or whatever those issues were. Stay, because we love you. And Are You Afraid of the Dark on Nickelodeon and free on YouTube, episode 1 and 2, part 1 and 2 of the new Midnight Society. So thank you so much and stay tuned to the horror. Ooh.
Hey kids, here comes Peter Pumpkin. For a safe Halloween, do what Peter does. Wear a light-colored costume short enough so you don't trip. If you wear a mask, make sure you can see. Makeup's better. Don't crisscross the street. Call on one side, then the other. Parents, boundaries and it's time to be home. Carry a flashlight for extra safety. And let's all have a safe Halloween.